Hello, this is Zach Cook, and this is my flow video for level design. Um, I will say that off the bat, I did use some static meshes, but it's still all very simple gray boxing geometry. So we'll come right out of spawn here, and you are set up in this little warehouse area that has this bottom ground floor and has a small amount of area up elevated that you can jump between through here and get a height advantage. Get a height advantage on the people down below. And also take a look in these little nooks and such. And so people coming right out of spawn have a ramp available to them off to the side, whereas people that would be coming in from the outside will have to jump up these boxes, making them a little more vulnerable, or risk getting so close to the enemy spawn and coming up the ramp. So that's a little balancing on what would be spawn camping and such. So coming outside, you have a big open area. I'll go ahead and get aerial view here. The way it's set up is 3 buildings to a side, symmetrically laid out, though they're all of different sizes. It creates these avenues of very straight lines for people that want to play with sniper rifles and such, but can also create these corners and doorways for people that are playing closer range ambush type classes. Go ahead and get into the buildings here. This first one is a very simple 90-degree building that forces you into some close range combat, or into the possibility of close range combat by coming around this tight corner, and you would put a health kit or something in here to make it worth coming through here, but it does open up opportunities for close range combat. Exiting that building, obviously you have the opportunity to go off to the right and down these avenues, or moving forward through the building, you come into this depot building where the enemy's jump pad is located, so you have the chance to come through here. And there are ambush points, you know, off to the side here, and somebody could come through the door and catch you quite close. And this area is actually the enemy spawn, so as you are coming out of spawn, you do have the opportunity to come straight into a building, though this would be locked by a team door. Speaking of coming through the spawn here, immediately off to your left is your first jump pad to come up onto the 3rd floor of action, and what you'll immediately notice that there is a big billboard. There's a big billboard in the way, just smack dab in the middle of it. And what this is going to do is this is going to make sure that there's no line of sight from essentially spawn point to spawn point. And without adding too much personal cover on top of the buildings, it does quite nicely split up and, you know, gives some dynamic to the happenings of up here. So you do have these long areas of combat, but you cannot shoot directly towards their spawn where they would be coming out. They have to come around the corner, or you have to come around the corner to engage them. Also worth noting is that there is a secondary jump pad out here, which is significantly farther away from the player's spawn, and will bring you up to about the point where you have the most vision. The most vision would be right here, but what this allows you to do is this allows, if you came from through the buildings, through that somewhat safer route, you have a chance to get up onto their side of the buildings kind of surprise them from coming up on the side. But likewise, players that come from their spawn will have an easier time to jump up here and reinforce other players up here. So it's giving a more open area, or another opportunity rather, for players to jump up. I believe I've covered everything. I'm going to go ahead and get a nice clean run through of the level. And so yeah, that pretty much gets the point across. There's no harsh endings other than these ones that would happen at spawn. Otherwise, you can pretty much freely continue moving. And yes, it does not look very organic, but I did try to get some organics working in here, but just was never able to get it looking good enough to put the effort into it. Like, I tried cutting some corners off and smoothing corners off of buildings so they didn't just look like huge cubes, but in the end nothing I really did worked. So I just decided to try and continue focusing on how the level itself worked. Just using, TF2 for my primary inspirations, because TF2 was still a very blocky game, but they have a lot of the same sensibilities of have some avenues of sniping, but don't have large open areas. Break them up like that. Make sure that there are opportunities for ambushes and close range combat, as well as long range combat, which I think this map has accomplished quite well.